Hello, how we doing today? I'm always having some technical problems, but as long as you can fix them and get up and running, it's all good. You can't sweat the small stuff. So let's get going today. Let me finish my little technical problems here, and we'll be good to go. So I would like to welcome everyone to the podcast today. This is our show for, give me a little second to fix our little camera here. Excellent. So this is Encounters, and this is my show on Tuesday. I'm here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So we have a very good show for you, but I need to do my test first. Now that we got all the technical problems solved, and we have so many technical problems all the time, it's like somebody's trying to sabotage this show. But it's all good. They have a job to do. I got a job to do. Everybody got to do their job. So always having some technical problems. I don't complain about them doing their job. They seem to complain about me doing my job. But we all got work to do. So we have a very good show today. And let me just finish doing one last thing, and I'll be in the house. And we should be here too. Let's see if we're here. Oops, I'm there. Amazing. Doing one last thing. Excellent. So I'm your full spectrum Gnostic Lynn, David Livesey, and we have a very exciting show today. I think we're still having some technical problems. I think we're going to lose our background. I think my computer is trying to be bad, but we're in the house, and technical problems or not, we got to do what we got to do. We got to move forward. So I want to welcome everyone, and I appreciate everyone being here. And, and in life, you can't let the little stuff get to you. You have to keep moving forward in life. You can't be, crying and everything. And everything in life, you have to learn by your errors. And this is what we're talking about today. Some errors was made. Okay. We was in a 20-year war, and we didn't do too well. And just like any time something bad happens in your life, you need to look back and reflect and see what you did right and what you did wrong. And our losing in Afghanistan is going to dramatically change our view of the military and what we're going to do with the military and what is our future plans for the military, just like when we had this problem in Vietnam. Because we've been going down a certain path for the last 20, 30 years. And I think we have finally hit the dead end. We finally have launched the Gerald Ford, which is the most expensive aircraft carrier in the history of the world. We have finally produced the world's most expensive fighter jet, the F-35. A lot of our projects we're working on is the most expensive in the world. Okay. We have spy satellites in space that can read a newspaper. We have drones flying everywhere. We have devices that can, we're listening to every phone conversation in Afghanistan. We're doing everything. We're monitoring every computer in the country. Over here too. We're doing everything. But we still couldn't defeat people with tails wrapped around their heads. We need to rethink our thinking on what we're doing with military. It's nice to have very expensive toys to play with, but those expensive toys have to carry their weight. And what we're learning is that a lot of our toys we have are very impressive, and they didn't do anything in helping us with the problems we had in Afghanistan. Okay. And we have stealth fighters. We got this, we got that. But we still had massive problems in Afghanistan. And we did not see what happened. This is what the Pentagon, and they're fighting over Washington right now. How come no one knew that the country would fall the way it did? We had no idea. And we got so many spies and CIA, and we got so many branches of the military, and we spend 4 times more on military than anyone in the world. We're the world's largest military supplier. Afghanistan had the 25th most advanced military in the world. And now we have just handed the Taliban the 25th most advanced military in the world. And they didn't even have to fire a shot to get it. We gave them everything. How did this happen? We need to put everyone in the Pentagon, and our generals need time out. They need to rethink their strategy, because this big giant stuff we're making didn't do any good. Okay. And we was thinking, so we're going to, a lot of mistakes was made in Afghanistan. But even with the mistakes, the reason we thought it would take a year for the government to fall, because we're monitoring everything that's going in that country. You can't sneeze in Afghanistan without us seeing it. You can't make a phone call. You can't do anything. We're monitoring everything. And we gave them, see, we're not even talking about this yet. Not only did the Taliban take over, they didn't fire a shot. And since we was leaving, we gave the Afghan security forces, which nobody is talking about, they have thousands of Humvees, probably hundreds of tanks, dozens of our most advanced helicopters. They have everything. Hundreds of thousands of guns, millions and millions of rounds of ammunition. They didn't fire a shot. And this was almost, the fall of Afghanistan was almost watched live on CNN and on several other networks. As the Taliban was sweeping the country and they were surrounding our giant military bases, we was expecting a battle to break out. And CNN reporters would say, we know the commander at that Air Force base or that military base. We're calling him to see what is going on there. And then they would get the message. They deserted the base. We gave them everything. They didn't even fire a shot. And the Taliban just walked onto the bases and was given the keys to the kingdom. And the second time we have done this, same thing we did with Al-Qaeda when they took over vast parts of Western Iraq, we didn't even blow it up. If you're going to lose hundreds of tanks and thousands of Humvees and things like that, we should have sent B-52s over and just destroyed them all. Why you want to give the Taliban the most advanced military equipment in the world for free? We did nothing. And how come we didn't see this coming? Sometimes you can be too advanced because, see, we're preparing for World War III right now. We're preparing for a nuclear attack in case this and that, in case somebody, we was looking for in Afghanistan. See, this is why they were saying the capital was not in danger of falling, because when they said, okay, now that, the capital was in danger, they was expecting Kabul to be surrounded by the Taliban with tanks and heavy munitions, and they was going to encircle the city. And they was waiting for the tanks and the heavy armament to start approaching the city. It never approached. And then the next thing we heard, the Taliban is in the presidential palace. They didn't fire a single shot. Most cities in Afghanistan, CNN and other news agencies had reporters in those cities. The BBC did too. And they would say one day you would have government forces on the street with the government flag, and then the next morning you got Taliban fighters in the street and Taliban flags flying everywhere. And all the military, all the police are gone. There was no gunfight in the middle of the night. There was nothing. Everybody melted away. And now we got thousands of Americans spread all over the country that we're trying to gather up. And I hate to say this, we're bribing the Afghanistan. That's why they're letting us get our people out. Because we're giving them everything in exchange for letting us get our people out. They haven't fired a shot. And we're going to collect all of our people from all over the country and bring them all to the capital, and they're going to be allowed to leave. And the Afghans, and the Taliban is not going to fire a single shot at them because they're being paid not to. How did this happen to the most advanced military in the world? I will tell you how it happened. How did they take the capital without firing a single shot? The same way they took every other major city in Afghanistan without firing a single shot. Because, and you saw it live on TV and you didn't see it. When Saigon fell, you saw tanks on the street and tanks rolling into the city, armored personnel carriers rolling into the city. When the Taliban took Kabul, they had no heavy weapons. They was already in the city. They didn't have to surround the city. They didn't have to surround the other city. They infiltrated the cities. They was already there with light weapons. And how did the Taliban get there? The same way they got everywhere else. Since they know, when you're being watched by all this high advanced, spy satellites and all these drones and whatever, we're looking for tank formations. We're looking for a line of, armored personnel carriers. We're looking for big stuff. The Taliban moved all of their people one carload at a time. And when you're taking 3-4 guys in a car and it takes you a month, you can have several hundred people, 1,000 people in there. And since they moved their people into Kabul and the other cities, one carload at a time, and this is why, which CNN been reporting and everybody else, all the troops, all the Taliban in Kabul is not carrying their regular weapons, which are AR-15. They're not carrying AK-47s. They're carrying American weapons. Where did they all get American weapons from? And they're driving around in American vehicles. They're not driving around. This is why we couldn't see them on the spy satellites. This is why we couldn't see them in our drones and everything else. Because when we gave all this equipment, this is a problem. We're going to use an analogy. And we're not going to go far. We're just going to go to Mexico. Mexico have a problem, a giant drug problem. The police get paid extremely low salaries. So most of the police, how they make their money is not by their salary. If you get stopped for a ticket or doing anything in Mexico, they want a mordida, which means a bribe. And if you don't give them the bribe, you get the ticket. If you don't give them the bribe, you get your car towed. If you don't give them the bribe, you go to jail. It's the game. You pay your way out. because their salaries are very, very, very low. So they only enforce the law when you don't have money. The Afghan, this is why we was talking about the corruption in Afghanistan. They get paid super low money. We was giving their soldiers everything. These generals and things in Afghanistan, their salaries are very low, but they live in these fabulous mansions. They're not making money. They're not living that way off of their little salaries. They're living that way off of, as we're giving them the latest equipment, they're selling it off at wholesale prices to whoever. That's why these generals and things in Afghanistan had fabulous mansions, all kind of stuff. And the soldiers was doing the same thing. And the Taliban learned the game of YouTube and these other channels. They scared everybody to death because they made videos for years about what they do to people who piss them off, and what they do to people that don't surrender, and what they do to people, and everybody know you don't want to mess with them. Okay. So when they got to our bases, see, when we was there, and this was the story of 20 years in Afghanistan, we could be in a military base with 50, 100 guys. You get attacked by 500 guys with towels wrapped around their heads. We're calling in close air support. We're calling in bomb strikes. We're calling in everything. We're calling in reinforcement. We're telling them to drop supplies. We're doing everything. And those 50 guys could defeat 500 people. Maybe we lost 3, 4 in the process. Okay. Because we had everything. They don't have bulletproof nothing, and we're covered in everything. We tried to teach this game to the Afghan military. We left. We gave them everything, the keys to the kingdom. We said, if y'all go under attack, you've seen us fight 1,000 times, you know how to do it. The secret is when there's 100 of them and 500 Taliban coming, they don't have close air support. They don't have reinforcements. They don't have drops of supplies coming in. They are totally on their own, and they know it. And they are supposed to fight to the death. And for their little miserable salaries they're getting, they're not willing to die for that. So the Taliban just gave them a choice. We got the base surrounded. We're giving, you got 2 hours. We're going to take the base. You might kill some of us, but if we take the base, we're going to massacre everyone in there, or you can leave. And when CNN was calling and these other networks was calling, they do the commanders on the ground in those bases. And they would say, I heard this base got captured. This city got captured. We know the mayor of that area or the commander of that base. We just contacted him. He said his guys left. They abandoned the base. They abandoned the city. They abandoned this. They wasn't willing to fight and die. And the Taliban just walked in there and took everything. See, you can't buy courage. And if you want people to fight, they have to have something to fight for, something they believe in. A lot of our soldiers are fighting because they believe in democracy and freedom, that they're trying to make the world a better place, that they're doing this and that. The only people in Afghanistan that's willing to fight are the warlords. Okay. And they're only fighting for their tribes. Okay. And the Taliban even defeated them. Not through sheer force, because that would have went to civil war that the Taliban didn't want. The Taliban just threatening them. You can fight us. You're going to kill a lot of us, but we're going to come in here and slaughter every member of your tribe. Or you can let us come in and we'll leave y'all alone. We're just passing through. We'll just plant our flag and keep going. And everyone, the thing you hear on the news all day is how the people are terrified, petrified of the Taliban. They're scared. I hate to say this word. They're scared shitless. And when people have that much fear of you, you can do anything. And, and that's the reason in Kabul right now, most of the people are in hiding. Everyone in Afghanistan and Iraq carries a weapon at all times. You don't see no weapons now. Everybody put their weapon away because the Taliban's out. You don't want them to think you're carrying a weapon and you might do something. Okay, their reputation is so bad and so massive. Their reputation alone. But this has been used throughout history. You had other people who used that. These, Attila did this. You had Genghis Khan did this. You had Count Draco, who we call Dracula. He did this. You have a lot of people throughout history who did this. They just intimidated their way across the world. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And just the mention of their name just brought fear and terror to everyone. And stealth bombers can't do nothing against fear in people's heart. When people are afraid of getting their whole family massacred in public, okay. What is spy satellite going to do against that? What is an F-35 bomber going to do against that? Nothing. We never tried to get the hearts and the minds of the people. This is what we talked about before in Afghanistan. We tried to give them something that they didn't want. But we should not feel too bad because we're not the only ones that have been defeated in Afghanistan. Everyone has been defeated in Afghanistan. The British was defeated in Afghanistan twice. India was defeated. Turkey was defeated. You had everybody trying to go over there, and nobody's been able to conquer the Afghans. The last person to conquer Afghanistan, I hate to tell you this, was Alexander the Great. And he only conquered them, not because they let themselves be conquered. He tricked them like the people in Afghanistan he only was able to go through that area and take over because of their hatred of India. And on his way across the country, he promised that if they joined his fight, he would defeat the Indians, and that united the Afghans on his side. Okay. And the Afghans, they hate each other. They've been fighting tribal wars for thousands of years. But the one thing they hate more than other tribes in Afghanistan, they hate foreigners. So it doesn't make no difference if you're Turk, if you're Russian, if you're British, if you're whatever. They hate everybody. Okay. And that is what happened here. Okay. And we was trying to do what is called nation building. And we have tried this in several places around the world, trying to give people what they don't want, what is called Western society. Not everybody want Western society. Not everybody want Peter Pockets and Taco Bell and Kentucky Fried Chicken and those are good things. Pokemon. Not everyone in the world is interested. And we're shocked. We don't understand. How can people in the world not want Western society? That baffles us. How can you not want a TV station with 200-300 channels? When the Taliban came in last time and took over, they banned TV, they banned music, they banned everything. The only thing they had was religious shows. They only, this, I guess their culture is kind of back. I'm not going to say backward. It's just different from ours. Okay. Everybody got the thing that they're in love with. And it's great that a lot of time we can, try to go around the world and show people and share our ideas and what we think are important. But not everybody shares our values. Not everyone shares our thing. In Afghanistan, they're not interested. They just want to, most of the people are agricultural and they want to just, I hate to say it, grow their opium. They've been growing it for thousands of years. They're opium farmers. And they sell their opium they sell it. To them, it's just like selling roses or selling anything else. That's what they do. And we tried to convert them into growing onions and growing other crops and this and that. They don't, the poppies just grow. They're like dandelions. They're everywhere. And they've been making money off of their little opium crops for thousands of years. And we tried to go over there and have our Miss Afghanistan beauty pageants and everything. They're not really into that. We have to learn, and if we can't even figure people out, how are we going to leave this blue marble and try to get along with alien civilizations? If you want to get along with people, you don't have to, you can't force them to get along with you. You have to find things that you have in common and get into common interests. You get what I'm saying? We never really tried to do that over there. We just tried to, military dominate, and we did the same thing that the Russians did. The Russians went over there and they controlled every city in Afghanistan. They could not control the countryside. And when we first went in Afghanistan, we controlled 90% of the country. We never controlled 100%. Then it was 70%. Then it was 60%. Then it was 50%. Then we pushed it back up to 70%. See, the Taliban never went anywhere. The only difference it was when the number was high or low is because they don't wear uniforms. So when you think you control this city and you have an American flag or an Afghanistan flag flying over the city, it's not that you really want anything. The people that they're still there. They're just not shooting at you. They're waiting for the opportunity. And this is why we could conquer vast areas of territory, and then within a very short time, it would flip hands. Because they was only afraid of our technology. And boy, did we have some fantastic technology over there. Hellacious technology. And then we started doing our night raids, and we got our stealth helicopters, and we was using we was doing all kind of stuff. And we controlled the night in Afghanistan. At night, we could go anywhere. Okay, do anything. Because we could see in the dark, do everything. We could, it was scary. But when the sun came back out, the Taliban ruled again. At night, we could do all of our raids, do anything. But we better finish before the sun come back up. Okay. And we played this game for 20 years. We spent $1 trillion. Couldn't we have spent that money doing something else? And now some people want to, they've been, attack Iran. Do you know every president since Eisenhower been threatening to attack Iran? If we attack Iran, it would be the same thing in Afghanistan. We would never win the hearts and minds of the people. We could stay in Iran for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We would never, it would be the same thing. We don't have nothing culturally in common with these people. We don't have anything. The only thing that we can control them is by sheer numbers. And if we would have put enough boots on the ground in Afghanistan, we could have controlled the country. If we would have put 15, 20,000 troops in the country just to control it. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, we're in control. Now what? The people hate us. We can't go anywhere. We got to have, patrols 24 hours a day, constantly looking out for attacks. And okay, that is not winning the hearts and minds of people. That's the reason in most places in Afghanistan, if you didn't have very heavy security, you couldn't go nowhere. So now that this war is over, we need to look first and towards the future. We can build another Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. We can build more and more F-35s. This is not solving our problem. We need to get into smarter intelligence. And we already have people now that's copying all of our stuff. No one can afford our F-35. So what everybody did from Japan to everybody, they bought a few of them, and then they copy them and they make their version of them. Okay. So everybody's coming out with their version of an F-35 after they buy a few of ours. Then they can't afford them. It's the most expensive plane in the world. So to compete with that, now we're reintroducing the F-15 and the F-16. We're reintroducing them. Okay, because people are now turning to the cheaper jets. They're buying the French and, the Swiss make not only watches, they make fantastic fighter jets. And they're a lot cheaper. And then today, around the world, you used to have to buy American equipment or Russian equipment. And now places like Turkey, they buy, and India too now. A little bit of Russian, a little bit American, a little bit of this, and they mix it all together. Okay. And the Russians love that because then they don't even have to steal our stuff. They can just go to India or these places, and you got the American jet and the Russian jet parked right next to each other, and they just say, let me go over there and take a look at that one over there. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. We need to quit throwing our money away. It's our money. And we cannot kill people into loving us. And our plan was, which I hope ends, we was planning on doing, we got so many, people have no idea how many troops we got in the world. We got a lot of American troops in Africa right now. Why they're there, I don't know. An Afrocon, and and we got a lot of troops all over the world, and it's very bad. We need to before people was afraid. There's no fear no more. And we need to get into, if we want to get countries to work with us and whatever, the thing of threatening them doesn't work anymore. Okay. Before, our equipment and things was so advanced and 20 years ahead of everyone else. But today, technology is getting very cheap. You should see some of these homegrown projects that these little countries all over the world is making. Everybody is now making their own chips, their own this, they're doing that. Or, Russia got some of the super great stuff, but Russia doesn't have a lot of money. So what Russia does with a lot of their stuff, they do this, they need the money to make, they got the technology, they don't have the money to produce things in very high quantity. So they make deals with India or make deals with China or make deals with this. And, we need to get out of this arms race. Because if it comes to World War III, we are the most advanced military in the world for blowing up the world, if you want to do that. Okay. Between us and Russia. And we're prepared for a giant World War III, World War II style war. We got all these giant aircraft carriers and all of this and all this. But low intensity wars, we don't have nothing. And that is the future of warfare, low intensity, like what's going on right now. And, you got all, everywhere. You got these little, the problem you have in Nigeria, the problem you have over there right now in Ethiopia, the problem you got in a lot of countries. In South America, you got these guerrilla movements, what's going on in several countries. These are low intensity warfares. You don't need big, giant, $1,000,000 things. We need to rethink our military. And I hate to tell you this. This is the problem the British had after World War I and after World War II. They had this, technology, but technology keeps changing. You have to have example, after World War I, England had the largest navy in the world. But the technology changed and it went from gasoline to diesel. From coal to oil. The British didn't keep up. And in World War II, they suffered dearly. In tank technology, they suffered dearly. Right now, we have a lot of things which are obsolete. Aircraft carriers are basically obsolete. Battleships are basically obsolete. Because today, we can keep building aircraft carriers, but what Russia and China is doing, they're building they're building these massive hypersonic missiles to knock out an aircraft carrier. And for the price of one aircraft carrier, they can make thousands of those missiles. And you only need one of them to hit the carrier to blow it up. Okay, so I don't care how advanced your carrier is, you got all of your eggs in one basket. We need something smaller that can move around a little bit faster. And that's the reason a lot of people are building these like our new destroyers and things. This is the future. Okay. These big giant ships, they're too big. Okay. We need to think about what we need to do in the world. And we need to think about what is the future of conflict. Okay. And the conflict now, especially with global warming, I shouldn't say that word, climate change. A lot of future wars is going to be fought over resources and this and that and everything else. And what we're having, the problem we're having on the southern border, with all these, with the problems we're having in Central America, you have mass migration issues. And this is what destroyed Rome that most people don't know about. Rome fell because in the little ice age in around 400 it got so cold you could no longer grow wheat above the Danube, and millions of people from Germany and Scandinavia crossed into lower Europe, and they ended up taking over. You get what I'm saying? And Rome and all their legions couldn't stop these people because they just wasn't going to stay up there and freeze to death. If we got problems in Central America, instead of if we don't want all these people from Central America and everything flooding into our country, it's not a thing of bombing them. It's cheaper to feed them and to take care of them over there than trying to take care of them over here. And if they're having massive problems in those countries of Honduras and Guatemala and everything else, why don't we try to take care of them over there, and then they won't need to come over here? Okay. That would be cheaper. And that is what is a lot of the wars that are breaking out now, is over basic things like water, food, things like that. Trying to control basic resources. We can fight this out, or we can try to work things out. We have something called, now back in the caveman days, when you had a problem with somebody, you went over there and you took your clubs and they took their clubs and you beat each other to death until the winner got everything. Okay. We're supposed to be beyond that now. This is 2021. We're acting like the year is 210 AD. Okay. This is 2021 AD. We have something called this. If we got any problem in the world, we don't need to be fighting it out. And if we got problem with certain groups of people, we still got our special forces. We still got those stealth helicopters. We still got them. We still control the night. We can go in there and take care of those little pockets if we need to. But Afghanistan was never the problem. We had some people call Al Qaeda that was a problem in Afghanistan that we needed to take care of. We did not need to invade the whole country because of a few bad people over there. We should have sent in our special forces and took care of those problems. Right? That's how you take care of the bad apple. You get rid of the bad apple. But taking over Afghanistan because of Al Qaeda, that doesn't make no sense. Okay. We don't need to take over Guatemala and Honduras to solve the problems down there. We just need to work with the people down there. Okay. We need to start doing things different. We need to put our clubs away. Okay. And some of these people today think the more guns you have, the more this you have, the more this and that. That's just supposed to scare people. Nobody's scared anymore. Okay. And you can march up and down the street with your AK-47s and whatever. This is not, that used to work when you had hoods on, but now nobody's scared anymore. Okay. And I live in Texas, where it's illegal to carry guns and knives and everything. And you can have guns everywhere and gun tubes and you can have an arsenal. Nobody's scared. Okay. We need to get out of the caveman days. We need to start using this. And if we, and remember, we're at the end of time. Our friends are coming. And the old saying, as below, as above, as above, as below. If we can't get along with people in the world and we have to go and bomb them, when our little alien friends come over here, if we don't get along with them, are they going to bomb us? Okay. We have to start trying to work out our differences, because I don't care if you're Chinese, Mexican, Black, South American, whatever you are. When you leave this blue marble of ours, you're only one thing. You're a human being from the planet Earth. That's all you are. Okay. We have more in common than we have differences. And people that have traveled all over the world and people that have been to Afghanistan and met the people, they found out that basically they're nice people. This is what we found out about the Vietnamese after fighting them for so many years. A lot of soldiers now go to Vietnam and they say those are really nice, sweet people. Then why was we bombing and killing the hell out of them? We killed over 1 million of them? Okay, and now we think they're very nice and sweet, and now ex-soldiers go over there and even marry them. Okay, this is very bad. Okay. So I just think we need to change. And if we need to use more of reasoning, and as I said, put the clubs away. Now let's see what people are thinking. If people are willing to hit me in the head with a club or whatever, or what people are thinking. I haven't said no, nobody's threatening me yet or anything. I guess I'm okay. But it's terrible. But with anything that happens, some people want to say this is all Obama's fault, or not Biden's fault. This is all Trump's fault. This is all Obama's fault. This is all George W. Bush's fault. This headache disaster been going on for 20 years. And nobody wanted to say this thing is not going to collapse on my watch. So everybody was kicking the can to get it to the next president. And I think Biden did not do a great job in handling this, but at least he said one thing. He was not willing to kick the can. Okay. Because we knew it was over. Trump was planning on pulling out too. It was over. The generals had no way of figuring out what to do because the Taliban discovered our weakness. Every time they tried to move in a convoy, we bombed the convoy. Every time they get a platoon together, a mass of men, we go in there with our gunships and shoot everybody. They learned the secret of social distancing. And as long as they moved in very small units and spaced them, when you have a 500-pound bomb, you can't do nothing with it. And this is what is going on throughout the world now. A lot of the militaries in the world, they're not using tanks anymore in the world. A lot of the third world, what they're using is little Toyota pickup trucks, and they put a giant machine gun in the back or a giant anti-aircraft gun in the back, and they can do that for a few $1,000s. They're not spending like we are hundreds of thousands of dollars on a single piece of equipment. And if you blow up a pickup truck, hey, there's 10,000 more where that one came from. It's not like us. You get what I'm saying? We need to think low tech. And this is the reason in Afghanistan we didn't have any targets to bomb. We had our fighter jets flying around looking for something to drop a bomb on. They wasn't giving us no targets. You don't want to drop a 500 pound bomb on a pickup truck. You want to drop it on a tank or something big. They learn social distancing. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay. We don't have a defense against that. We need to fight low tech wars using low tech stuff. And our special forces are very good at fighting low tech. They got all their little stuff, and they're coming in covered from. But they look like something out of the future. I don't know if you've seen what their high tech forces look like now. Special forces, they look like something out of a science fiction movie. And they can see in the dark. They can do this. They got cameras. They got everything. And there can be 2 of them and 50 of them, and we win every time. Okay. That is how you do these low-tech wars. We need to keep them that way, where we send in our super soldiers, and our super soldiers take out the problem. Okay. I'm just giving my opinion. But we need timeout at the Pentagon. We don't need to finger point, but we need to do something. And in closing, I want to say a statement. When things bad happen in China, they fire a lot of people. When bad things happen in Russia, when a submarine sinks or this or that, or there's an explosion or something goes wrong, they fire a lot of people. In America, nobody never loses their job. I don't care how terrible of a job they did, nobody never gets fired. Okay. I think somebody needs to get fired over what happened. Okay. And maybe that would do the thing. Now, maybe that is just a way of scapegoat, but at least you got to do something. That is what, this is somebody's fault. And somebody needs to, accept the blame for this, because we was totally blindsided. And maybe if we fired a few generals or whatever for doing a bad job or for not giving us the proper intelligence or whatever, maybe that would do something. But after 9/11, nobody got fired. After, the crazy thing in Iraq, nobody got fired. The problems we had in Syria, nobody got fired. Nobody never gets fired. So then it's no big deal about if you mess up. Because if you screw up, you only kill a lot of soldiers. But none of the generals, none of the people that's making the decision never lose their job over people getting killed and bad things happening. You might think I'm crazy, but I don't think so. I think we need to fire a few of our generals that was over this catastrophe. They need to, be showed the door. Okay. I'm Lynn David Livesey, your full spectrum Gnostic. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I didn't mean to be any respectful. I do not blame our losses on our soldiers. I think our soldiers did a hell of a job. The problem is we didn't have the strategy. We didn't have the men. We didn't have a lot of things. The soldiers on the ground did the best they could. Okay. But it's the generals and those people at the Pentagon. They're the ones who set the strategy. They're the ones who are supposed to be the experts at what we're doing out there. And when they screw it up, they never get fired. Several people need to lose their job over this. I'm Lynn David Livesey, your full spectrum Gnostic. I'm out of here. Thank you so much. I hope to see you again very soon. Bye.